Talking to extremely difficult sellers? Try this. What's up YouTube, it's Matthew here. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you all about how to handle extremely difficult sellers, especially over a phone call, right? Whether you are sending out postcards and they're calling you back, or you're doing some cold calling, or if you're just following up with leads, how do you deal with difficult sellers? In today's video, we're going to talk about how to deal with difficult sellers on the cold call approach, right? When you're cold calling them, and then how do you deal with difficult sellers when you're following up with them and you know they're motivated but they're just being difficult, right? How do you deal with those type of sellers also? So in today's video, I'm going to give you just 3 simple and easy steps to follow in order to retain your sellers and make them go forward with signing a contract and getting a deal closed. Before we go on, you all be sure to like this video, subscribe down below. If you're interested in any of the resources I use, I'll put them down below in the description box and you can check them out. Comment down below if you have any questions. Talk to me in the comments down below about interactions you had with sellers and how you deal with that. All right, so number 1, how to deal with difficult sellers is to ask them questions. And the reason I say ask them questions is that the person who asks the question is usually the one who is controlling the situation. And you want to control a situation, especially with an extremely difficult seller. So when you're cold calling and a seller is just rude, a seller is just cursing you out, just hang up, right? Just say, okay, thank you, you're not interested, right? But let's say you do get a seller, initially maybe they were more receptive and then they start asking you all these questions and they start to be rude and petty with their questions, with their answers, and they try to take control. You can quickly answer their questions and then give them a question and put the control back in your seat. And you can't just ask them just any willy-nilly question. You gotta ask them a specific question, right? Talking about the main pillars of motivation, which is like condition of the property or timeline to sell, their motivation and their price, right? Ask questions around those 4 main areas like Brent Daniels talks about from TTP. And the other thing is that when you start controlling the conversation, and you have to make sure your tone is everything, right? Be patient, be calm. If they raise their voice, don't raise your voice, right? If they start talking rude to you, don't talk rude to them. You know, if you want to address something that they said negatively to you, yes, you can address that in a calm, powerful way, right? With authority. And so just make sure you have that on the phone, right? Another tactic that I've seen is that a lot of times when you put the control back in yourself and you remain calm, they start to mirror your emotions, right? And they start to remain calm. And even though they're ready to leave, one thing that I've seen a lot of experienced cold callers and sales people do is that they say, hey, before I let you go, and then they ask a question. And they ask a question to pique their interest in remaining on the call, and it's targeted around what they're trying to do in the situation. And it may not be in that. Maybe they're just trying to build rapport. Maybe they're like, oh, before I let you go, I know you mentioned the dog that you have. What kind of breed is that? Or before I let you go, let's say I can get you this number for your house. Would you go forward with this? And that opens up more of the dialogue and puts their barriers and guards down. So the second way to deal with extremely difficult sellers, and I mentioned this in my first point, is to never succumb to their difficultness or their extremeness, right? Just because a seller is being difficult, you don't have to be difficult. Just because a seller is being unresponsive, you still need to be super responsive, right? Let's say you call them 20 times, they never answer, and then they call you back once. Don't be like, oh, this person never called me. No, you better answer that phone call, right? You better try to be the bigger and better person within a transaction, within the relationship of that deal. You know, ask them permission. Hey, if this is not a good time, let's say they're being rude, like, oh, why are you calling me on the weekend? Or why are you calling me? I'm watching my favorite show. Oh, I'm out. You know, you just politely say, okay, no problem. When is a better time to call? Or, you know, I'll call you later. And, you know, going back to the questions, ask them, okay, when is the best time to call you? Or you can let them know, hey, I'll be available tomorrow at 11 a.m. to call you, or after work around 6 p.m. to call you. Does that time sound good for you? And then you can go from there. The thing is, never succumb to their ways of trying to deal with the solution or deal with the problem, right? You know your script, you know what to do in a transaction with wholesaling, you understand the process. Don't let them teach you how to act. You teach them how to act, okay? And you control that situation, you be the bigger and better person. So the third and final way I would say how to deal with difficult sellers is to let them know what you are thinking, let them clearly know your intentions, let them know what you expect from them, and let them know what they should expect from you, right? So I think that ties in everything that we talked about so far. Essentially saying, do what you say and say what you're going to do, right? And don't overpromise. Don't give guarantees where you don't even know you can guarantee with them. So if you say, oh, we'll close on your property in 2 weeks, but really because title companies are jam-packed, it has to be in like 45 days and they're wanting 2 weeks, even though you want to, help them out and appeal to them, you have to be real and honest with them. Just say, hey, I think this property and this environment with the housing market exploding, I can't do 2 weeks, right? We do have the funds available to close in 2 weeks, but it's just scheduling it with the title company is difficult, right? And just going about it like that. So explain what you're going to do, right? When an extremely difficult seller approaches a problem or situation, what they really want is they just want clear expectations, clear instructions, right? And so you have to clearly explain, hey, I'm an investor. This is what we do with houses. We buy properties to improve upon them. We buy properties to do this, to do that, and whatnot. And they need to know. Also, they want to know what you need from them, right? Let's say you come across a property and you need certain documents for the title company, or you need to know this information or that information about the condition or about the roof. You have to let them know about that so they can give you that information. You have to be very organized and diligent in your approach to them. The other thing that you need to let the seller know, especially dealing with extremely difficult sellers, is to explain to them what will come out of everything. One thing that I noticed is really key is that when you lay out the expectations, what they are going to get from you and what you need from them, you can be like, okay, if all of this works out, this will be the solution. This will be the end where I get to sell I get to buy your house essentially, right? And you get to move on to paradise, to wherever you want to move, or you get to get this amount of money and other things like that. It's good to tell them the end goal in mind also. All right, you all, I hope you all enjoyed this video, just different ways on how to deal with extremely difficult sellers, especially over the phone when you're following up with them, things like that. I think the number one thing is just to control a situation with questions and to also be clear about expectations, never over guarantee anything. And of course, never to match their energy levels, their negative energy levels, right? You can match them in their personality types, right? If someone's more calm, you can be a little bit more calm, right? If someone's more excited, kind of get excited with them, right? But never match their rudeness or their pettiness. You're the bigger person. You are the one reaching out and handling a transaction. So you have to be the authority in real estate, in a transaction, in a relationship, in a call with a seller. All right, you all, hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll talk to you all later.